Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Power Rangers Ninja Steel Episode 2. I think it was called Forged in Steel? Not Forged on Steel. Forged, I think. Anyway, so this was the second episode, and honestly, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the first episode was pretty solid. Definitely some problems in there, but I actually liked this one quite a bit more. I don't remember if I mentioned it last week because, you know, I had a lot of talks about the pilot last week between the video and just various social media or whatever. So, like, I don't even think I mentioned in my video or even realized, honestly, that much how similar in structure the first episode was to Dino Charges until I, like, thought about it later. But this episode didn't have quite as many familiarities to, like, the second episode of Dino Charge, unless I missed something. And there was, like, maybe a couple little things, but it separated itself a little bit more, which I think is what made it good. And honestly, there was some actual funny moments in there. Last week I talked about how it would be nice to have some more kind of normal funny humor instead of just the, you know, slapstick I got pie or some sort of unidentifiable liquid in my face humor that hasn't been used since forever. And we definitely had that this episode, but it wasn't quite as much as last week. I don't expect that to mean that we're gonna always get it less, and not like the jokes in this one were like world class or anything, but there were some funny moments, particularly with Mick and Calvin and Haley who were introduced when they landed, and when like he hid in the car from the enemies, and just little things like that when they met the principal. There was just some honest funny moments. Also, the scene where they all sort of met finally, the two groups from this week and last week, and they're all introducing themselves, and Preston knew Kaylee and Calvin, wow, I just like totally caught Haley and Calvin, there we go, and then like Sarah just like jumps in and says, "Hi, I'm Sarah, I'm from out of town," and Brody said, "Hi, I'm from out of space." Yeah, whatever, but he said my Brody before. I am a good talker in this one, guys. But like there was some just funny little moments like that that were actually decent. And so, like I said last week, I'll be happy to just get little bits like that and not just the stupid Monty and Vincent. Oh my god, guys. I mean, I'm not even that tired or anything. So, yeah. So like, it was just nice to have some moments that actually even made me chuckle a bit or just smile and not like, you know, roll my eyes and be mad. But I just really liked the way it was set up. I liked the way that Mick kind of landed in front of Kaylee and Calvin. Oh my god! Haley and Calvin. There we go. So, I like the way that was set up, and they kind of mentioned the Galaxy tournament, and they fought everything off. And interestingly enough, Haley and Calvin are actually dating, which I think is interesting just because, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think there's been an established couple on the team ever. I mean, there was like Jen and Alex, but then he died, but you know, he wasn't a part of the core team. So unless I'm forgetting something, so that's kind of interesting. So maybe we don't have to do the standard romance of two Ranger characters that like each other throughout the whole 2 years and then finally get together at the end. I mean, I'm sure they won't even do coupley stuff because Saban thinks it's 1950, and if they even think about kissing, they're gonna get like shamed. But, which is funny because it's definitely not a Nickelodeon mandate, because Nickelodeon's literally had entire marathons based on two iCarly characters kissing. But it's not like I'm sitting here like wanting Power Rangers characters to make out, but it's just kind of funny how like Saban's playing with an outdated set of kid gloves. But anyway, so I just thought that was an interesting little twist on things, and I really quite like them so far. They haven't done anything super standoutish, but I found both of them to be likable. I actually like all the Rangers so far. I don't really have a problem with any one of them. I just really hope that they stay decent and don't end up in territory like Dino Charge did, because like I really quite liked the Dino Charge characters from the start, and then they became one note, or like Riley, who just randomly fit the plot for like whatever they needed him to do. Or like, I hope Brody's quest for his dad / brother doesn't become his only bit and like jeopardizes the team like it did with Tyler and become almost a psychotic obsession. So like, I like them so far. I hope it doesn't turn. So like, I'm very cautiously optimistic. That's going to be kind of the word of this review. But anyway, I like the setup for them. And then they went to the school where we kind of were introduced to one of their base hangout areas, which is going to be the mechanic place, like the shop class of the school. We are introduced to the principal, and she thinks that Mick is the new shop teacher, and like it was kind of inferred that whoever took the job decided not to, so he's kind of perfectly slotted in there. I feel like there might be a plot down the line where the actual guy shows up or something, but so that kind of set things up interestingly. I really like I think that they're all going to get him at some point, if I remember from pictures, but I like the communicators they have. Like the way, it's kind of weirdly coincidental that they open up like ninja stars considering it came from the ship, but I think it's still kind of cool that they have those, and I just like seeing those. So I like the introduction to the school and stuff. Of course, we got stupid Monty and Vincent, which I honestly, they're my least favorite part. I hate them so much because they're just so overblown characters that don't exist in real life. And like, you know it's bad when Mick, the alien dude who turns into a mop, feels like a more grounded character than these two idiots. I hate them. That was the only part I really, truly disliked about the episode, was when they had to show up and squirt stuff all over their face. You know how it is, but, so, that was the only part I disliked. And then Vincent sitting there like, oh, I have a six-pack. Psh, you're not even Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren has an 8-pack. Kylo Ren is shredded. So, yeah, that's the only part I didn't like. So then the two sides got to meet, which was neat. Like I said, there was that kind of funny scene where they all met. Haley and Calvin pulled out their ninja stars, and then you notice that the gold star is missing, which they address later, which I'll get to in a second, which was neat. And then they all morph, and it appears, they say it's morphin' time like always, and then so far it seems the morphing call is like ninja spin, or disc star spin, or something spin. So I think that's the morphing call. It's kind of like Dino Charge, where they just said a bunch of things, and I'm not sure what really was the morphing call. To be honest, I missed when we had really unique morphing calls like Ninja Storm Ranger Form or Magical Source Mystic Force, but I'd rather it just always be its morphin' time than go whatever team. I don't know who cleared that. Like, I don't know why they thought that needed to be a thing. Especially since so early on they were going for the nostalgia. They should have just started with its morphin' time right away. But, so, I don't know. And the morph was pretty decent. A decent little animation. I really would love us to get some individual morphs this season. I think like what, maybe 3 people got it in Dino Charge, so that would be kind of nice. But so that was fine. They showed off the first mode they showed off in the Battlestar, or the Battle Morpher, was the bow mode, which you can't do in the toy. And there was also, you know, showing off the spinning. So kids are gonna be like, I can't wait to go spin this, and then they're gonna be like, it won't spin. So like they botched that, not the show, Bandai. But so yeah, they got to show that off, and then we got the Zords in this episode, and it kind of, the Nexus in general definitely has some vagueness around its rules, but they're still giving you like very light explanations, which just makes me happy. Like I would love for it to be expanded on. I'm not expecting it to be expanded on too much more in depth, but at least they're giving me enough where I don't feel as aggravated with Dino Charge. I frequently compared it to having like a redacted document. Especially with the Zords, because they're just like, oh, they awaken when you get them, and I felt like that information was missing until, what, the latter half of Supercharge, and then the explanation was that Xenowing came to Earth, made them, and then ran. It was so stupid, and in this one, it kind of just came back to the same thing as when his dad transformed. Oh, legend says that it does this, and so, like, it was, you know, it's just kind of inferred that there's a legend that this essentially, hiccups, excuse me, that this essentially basically creates ranger systems, almost kind of a do-it-yourself ranger system in some senses. So I kind of liked that. There was a combination of the fact that his dad made those ninja stars and they threw them in there and it made their Zords. And it's not directly said, but given the visual cues and things we learned about the characters, as I mentioned last week, all the Zords are inspired by something that's important to them, which I think is really cool. Like I said, they didn't go in-depth and like directly say it, but regardless, given how random Ninja's mecha was, I thought that was a really cool detail that throughout the pilot and this episode, they, you know, had those visual cues of like Redbot, Sarah's hoverboard, Preston's magic with the dragon, of course, you know, Calvin's love of cars, Haley's dog, and then they all manifested into Zords. I thought that was a really cool moment. I liked that quite a bit. So much of a better introduction and like mythology bit behind the Zords than Dino Charge. Like I said, not perfect, but it's enough that it's not going to be one of those nagging complaints that I have for the whole series. Like I said, I frequently said in Dino Charge, if they would have just said one thing, honestly, it would have kept me from dwelling on it. So like, I liked that bit. That was neat. I didn't really touch on it too much last week, except for talking about how much I hated the reuse of past suits, but I do think that the video game, the game show setup is at least a unique setup, and I at least like that they're not always directly copying the ninjas, so I think that's kind of a neat thing at least. And hell, the villains do have more presence than the ninjas did, and they are already more active than Geodgers were, like seriously. Anyway, so, the only other thing I think I want to touch on is there was some neat setup for gold. As I mentioned, the gold star was missing because it was with Brody and the others when it flew off, and then it was missing when it reached Calvin. Oh my god, guys. Calvin and Haley. That's like when I keep calling Silent from Pokemon Silas. Anyway, and then they noticed it at the end, which was neat. And then not only did they notice it, but I can't remember her name right now. It'll take me like, I'll remember it by the end of the series, but our version of QAmon has it on the ship. That's interesting. There was a screenshot of that quite a while ago, so we knew that was going to happen. But we didn't know really when, or at least I didn't. So I think that's really cool. One thing Dino Charge did kind of neat was that they did early setup for like Aqua Ranger, all the Rangers period, because they, you know, talked about there being Energems, but like specific early little Easter egg setups for Gold and Aqua and stuff like that. So, and this one started even earlier, which was neat, because I think it's the episode right before hiatus is called Goat Rush. It's called Goat Rush, guys. No, Gold Rush. So, you know he's going to appear early. And it's even earlier than normal in the recent years because the first seasons are 20 episodes. But so I like that. It was neat, not only setup and foreshadowing for the Gold Ranger, but it gets kind of a continuous little plot thread going and an interesting wrinkle to have QAmon have it. I'm not sure like how that went down. I'm going to assume she didn't pull it out. You know how it is. I'm going to assume that maybe whoever Gold is, whether it's his brother or somebody else, I'm going to assume it's his brother based on how the dude looked. But like they pulled it out and like... You know how it is? Sorry. But like, and then she took it from him. That's what I'm gonna assume. Right now, maybe she has him captive because that would create a good reason. If that was the case, whoever Gold is, got it. She took the star and kidnapped him. That would give a good reason for why this dude would be an active ranger and not helping, as opposed to Aqua, who's like, I was running from a dude that was never chasing me. Like, seriously, I don't even think Fury mentioned him after the reveal that he was on the run from him. But, so, yeah, regardless of, even if it seems predictable at the moment, I do like that setup. I thought it was neat. But, yeah, overall, I was happy with this episode. I'm very cautiously optimistic at the moment, because I like this episode quite a bit. I like parts of last episode. I hope that it would have some better moments throughout the next 2 years that I can enjoy, but given that Dino Charge slowly let me down, I'm just very cautious about it. So at the moment, I'm just kind of taking it easy and just being happy with the fact that I was able to sit down and somewhat enjoy an episode of Power Rangers. Hoping for the best, expecting the worst, but we'll have to see. Like I said, very cautious. But right now, I was happy with the episode. I'm going to even be generous because who knows if I'll be able to give out another score like this for PR. I'm going to give it an 8. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to give a score like, I hate to sound negative like that, but you know, you gotta take it while you can. So, at least, solid second episode, it made me happy, and maybe there won't be quite as many pitchforks in the comments this week. So anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure you got the Crazy Podcast at writersrangerambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.